Now you hear people have stolen a lot of money, they're arrested in other countries trying to invest. It's very sad. We don't love our country. And when we look at the generations to come, we really ask ourselves, are we going to have a country? And we have to stand now so that we save our future generations. Because like these other countries, they love themselves, they want to develop, they want to make sure that they put structures. Like, for example, I'm in Canada and I've been here for only 1 year, but I just realized a world of difference between Kenya and Canada because the systems put here, you don't have to follow anything. If you apply for something, you just wait. If you are told it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that is the time you go for that document or anything that you want. Say that I'm just liking the way Western put it. If you come together and you don't trust each other, your relationship will never survive because you are just coming together, you are greedy or you aim at grabbing power. And once you get power, now you have nothing to put you together. You don't have a bond. So you start fighting. So this fight is what we are experiencing. As you can see, they are trying to divert attention. Our airport is going, our Kentraco, and all those other things that are going under Adani. And I highly suspect Adani could be a decoy and Ruto would be behind. But he's just putting him there so that it can be seen that Adani is the one who is going to run the show. But I highly suspect this guy could be behind and all these things. And we heard that they are going to be a contract after 30 years that Adani is going to hold a certain percentage, I don't know, 18% for another maybe 18 years. So when you look at that contract, even from the layman's eye view, you would see that something fishy is happening, meaning that really it's not Adani, it's not Adani. So guys, I would want to be brief because I'm working, I'm on duty. So I would want to congratulate you for whatever that you're doing. And in case you need, some of us, because we are far, maybe we can assist you, something small like that will keep you going. But above all, try to unite and try to have one cause. This government will go. If all youths come together because you are a good number, and if they come together, register as voters, you pursue the role of Ruto and the entire administration going. These people will go. I'm telling you, people are tired and they will want them to go just like yesterday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bona Eric. And if you are asking how you can support our show, because this show is supported 100% by the listeners, if you like what I'm doing, there is a tip line paleju 0721-948-229. And of course, I can give you my name if you want to, if you have to, because for the abroad transfers here, they use the names. So if you want to support the show, there's the number there. You can drop any amount you want. You can be able to raise.
Yeah, I've taken the screenshot. Yeah. So maybe your names as they appear because you have to put in case you are not doing them.
Let me check your inbox right away. I have dropped the name there. And of course, for those who want to support the show, I'm going to be dropping a comment with our details as well for you to support. Yes, ni ile mwiki yenye tunahitaji watu wenu wakuje kutusupport kwenye show. Haya, naona Franklin ako hapa. Thank you so much, Eric. Let's get the conversation going. I see Franklin here. How are you doing, Frank? Siku nyingi, shika hii kiboko ni salamu yangu. Ulitusahau?
Bro, kuwa mpole bana. Karibu ya kwanza. Unasikia?
Yeah.
Unanisikia fiti?
Nakupata vizuri ndugu yangu. Karibu kwenye show.
Sawa, asante. Naona hapa umesema to maintain focus. Rigathi was sasa mimi so I want let me jump in for those who don't understand me nitumia lugha gani, Uswahili ama Kiingereza ama nichanganye?
Ni Kenya ndugu yangu, so any language that is in the government's voice utakingia.
Hata nitakuwa brief. For me, I don't know why I see it in two sense. First, in as much as tuna maintain focus, ukisoma kwa kitabu hii inaitwa Robert Greene 48 Rules of Power, kuna rule inakuwa law number 15 ama number 17 ile inasemaga crush your enemy completely, ile maliza. So wakati tu we lose focus na tukaanza kuwa na trust issues, then the enemy hao watu waliona sisi tumekuwa scattered. Kuna wenye wanasema wanalipa, wengine hawalipi, so tukajua unajua those trust issues. So hiyo ndio ilifanya sasa tukakuwa crushed completely. Ile tumemalizwa, tunaongea hii, wengine wanaongea hii, wengine tukiongea hapa mchana, usiku wengine wanaendea paycheck. It was very painful to kuona wengine wame make money, wengine hawajatengeneza, wengine kwa yani unatoka kwa street with a good motive.
Frank bwana. Kwani network yako imeenda wapi? Okay.
Unanisikia?
Nakusikia sasa.
Sasa nakwambia the thing is whenever that trust is broken, it take a while kurudisha. On hii Rigathi was what I would say, hii mambo ya Rigiji na Murima, unajua mimi ni mtu ya Murima. What is happening here ni kama tunataka kushiftiwa attention. You see, kuna hii mambo ya Adani yako Ketrako, akona contract Ketrako ya sijui 20 ilikuwa 18 years. Kwa airport ni 30 years. So you can imagine that guy analizwa airport zote, na si JKIA peke yake. JKIA kuna Moi, kuna Wilson, zote za government for the next 30 fucking years akiwa na manage na mpati kitu ile. Kuna kashaka kadogo tu mtakuwa mnapata. You suspect mpaka unaanza kujiuliza. So wakati wanasema wanaleta impeachment, mpaka mtoya focus huku kwa Adani, mwanze kuongea timu Rigiji ameguzwa Murima, no attention sasa itoke kwa Adani, because that's the main thing. Because ukisikia impeachment kuna mahali mnataka yani focus tu itoke. Na like the way we maintain the focus. See the goal ni hao watu wote waende. Hivyo wanaleta impeachment yao, wanafaa kuleta impeachment ya Ruto na Rigathi wote wawili atago kama yule Morara tu anasema. Tuwatoe wote. We don't want those people. Otherwise if we continue, if kuna impeachment mimi naweza support ni wote wawili waanze, tukianza na Ruto. If that one I would be full throttle. Lakini hata ya Rigiji butu wana vile itaenda, lakini naona tu akienda. But hiyo sio issue ni hii Adani. Mimi nataka kuongelea hii Adani vile ameingia Kenya si mzuri. Nasikia hata kwa reli anaingia, kwa reli hapa anaingia. Na bado kuna watu wanakatwa pesa ya housing fund, housing levy na hata ijengwi. Only for money to be deposited in a Cayman Islands account somewhere. In Kenya, hiyo 1.5 mnakata housing levy, ndio hiyo. Tunaintroduce, now you are being introduced to SHA kuanzia tarehe 1 in few days time. Then tarehe 26 in the next 4 days. Kuanzia tarehe 1 NHIF kaput to everyone. Nasikia naisha, unaona vile iko. I don't want to talk about that one, but let us maintain focus. Mimi sina mingi ya kusema, but I'm back now. Unajua ni job maze. Ni job sometimes pipi. Na ndio nakosanga time.
Haina pressure ndugu yangu. Inaeleweka bwana, inaeleweka.
Najua sometimes kupata time ya kukaa kwa internet sometimes inakuwa tricky kidogo, but nimeshukuru. Hebu tusikie speakers wengine vile wanasema. Mimi thanks mazee, wacha nisikize hata mimi.
Asante sana Frank. It's always a pleasure to have you on bana. Unajua sisi kama spaces, sisi tumekuwa tukiwork for over a year now. I feel like I have been in people's lives in different phases of their lives. So I do not hold anyone to a standard kwa sababu alikataa kukuja kwa show. I'm used to it. Juza nikujuze, how are you doing?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. Well,
asante sana. Mimi niko salama. Nashukuru. Thank you for always hosting manze a platform for people to communicate and air out their views, which of course are aimed to change first of all us and then change the society around us. Now nimesikiza what guys have been saying na maoni yangu ni hivi. We think tuko na the same goal na watu wengine, as in all of us are angry and all of us want change and all of us want the current regime down. But we think we have the same goal as many of the others, but we might not have the same goal. It so happens that imeanza kuchange from a goal of Ruto must go. Now Ruto must go imeanza kuwa a means sasa. Badala ya kuwa an end, imeanza kuwa a means. Now the goals zitaanza kujireveal pole pole. Kuna watu wako na the goals of having systemic change. Kuna watu wenye goal yao ni replacing the current regime with their own idea of a regime. Unaona, ama kujiweka in those seats that are there but with no changes. Kuna watu wako na goal ya ku have like proper transformative change kabisa, change the system, change the constitution, a few other things. So lazima kwangu, I am comfortable with there being many different movements aimed at the same thing. Yes, saizi we according to me naona Ruto must go being a means and not an end, because nimeanza kuona different people looking for different things. Kuna watu wameanza aspire politically, kuna watu wanataka constitution iheshimiwe na therefore tujenge zile system zenye ziko, na watu wengine wanataka tu revolution basically. So sijui where most people sit, but I think I would want us to be comfortable with there being many different groups aimed at the same thing. Si lazima ikuwe group moja ya nchi nzima yenye imeshikana towards one thing. I think saizi naanza kuona hiyo being a little bit unrealistic. Juu kuna watu kuna political aspirations, inaweza kama mimi sina, inaweza kwa mtu mwingine hana. Now we are fighting for Ruto must go with that person with political aspirations, but sa ile Ruto atago, then tutaanza kupigania of huyu jamaa atataka tena kura yangu about you get. So lazima tuanze kuwa comfortable with that, tuanze also kufikiria about that eventuality, that kuna watu within us, within our groups, who want these same positions as they are. Because I guarantee you, kuna mtu akiwa presidency sahi, without changing the systems, watu wengi sana in this movement watachukua. Wengi sana si mmoja. Unaona, Ruto waende wa replace those positions with themselves. I guarantee you there are many people like that. Now we need to be aware of that, be comfortable with that, na tuanze kujiuliza, how do we deal with such an eventuality? Unaona, that the movement is not pure, or even if it's pure, the goals that we're aiming for are not the same. Na tuanze kujiseparate based along, tuanze kujiseparate along those different values na different variables. Na kwangu personally, I am comfortable with it. Tuseme sisi wote tunapigania for Ruto must go, but after that, mimi na wewe tunatofautiana in the way, tunatofautiana in what can happen after that, ama in what should happen after that. And then tuanze kufikiria, now that we disagree on venye Kenya itakuwa after Ruto ameenda, what are we going to do? So that tuanze kujipanga na hizi vitu sahi, instead of kuanza kuwa na, I think kutaanza kuwa na beef pole pole, watu wakianza even though watakuwa na good intentions, watu wakianza aspire politically, mimi nataka kuwa governor, I think impact yangu itakuwa fiti nikiwa governor, ama impact yangu itakuwa fiti nikiwa deputy president, ama impact yangu itakuwa fiti nikiwa MP. And then watu wengine wako like, no, let's change the system. Kutaanza kuwa na beef between these different groups. So I think before anything else, even as we continue, as we march forward, tuanze kufikiria about hizi eventualities na tujiulize, are we aiming for the same things? And if we are not, can we disagree peacefully, respectfully, and what mean? And what does the movement look like once we start separating along these different lines? And then tuanze kujipanga. Asante.
Asante sana kwa hiyo submission na Juza nikujuze saying that we need to first of all have one common goal and then ukombelanga. Marabu stocks you're waving, you have something to rebuttal.
Pipi, am I coming through?
Yes, you are.
Not a rebuttal. My brother Western Shilao, someone I respect very much, has raised something and I did not want it to escape my mind. Now, Mr. Western, there are very many English words, and sometimes the words that we use are created by the media. Now, our revolution is not a revolution because a revolution has to be planned. What we have, it was a reactionary process which can be called an uprising because of the finance bill. So within 2 months, you cannot expect people who do not know each other, who have been brought together by an uprising because of a grievance, which is the finance bill, to be in a revolution. A revolution such as the Fidel Castro revolution that you mentioned in Cuba with the Che Guevara was planned in the mountains for a long time. They had hierarchy, they had members, they knew each other, and each other had a role to play. And in such a system, if you betray somebody, it was death, mandatory. But for an uprising, it brings together people who don't know each other, people who have nothing in common except that one cause, which was the finance bill. So what we were supposed to metamorphosize to was from an uprising to either a revolution, an insurgency, or an insurrection. But the media gave us this name and said we are a revolution, but in a sense for it. We did not. So you cannot hold people accountable for a system that is fictitiously in existence. It has no structure. It exists in the air. You cannot say that Hanifa is anything in a, what is Hanifa in a revolution? She doesn't know herself. We don't know ourselves. Can you hold such a person accountable? You can never hold such a person accountable. So let's know the position that we are in right now. In social psychology, there's something called the attachment theory. The attachment theory says that human beings crave for attachment and crowdism. But they would not know the reason why they crave for this attachment and crowdism. It is something that is naturally in a man. But without a structure and knowing where we are right now, we cannot say that we are holding people accountable for this reason or that reason. For the deputy president, I've read something new. I've heard him talking. And right now is when I think we people should really start listening to what the deputy president is not saying, not what he's saying. Okay? So I'm going to try and find it and share it with Pipita and see if it can be shared. But that is what I had to say for Western. I understand what you say completely, and I agree with 99% of it. However, to hold people accountable, to say that we can forgive or not forgive somebody, they really have to have a position that they hold. Because when somebody holds no position, then they hold no liability. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for that. I don't know if Western wants to rebuttal or should come after Joho. It's 9 minutes past 6. Western, will you come after Joho?
Yes, Peter, you want Joe to go first?
Yeah, or you lose your chain of thought.
Okay, so I come in, eh?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marabu, I agree with him really, 100%. But what this movement was meant to do is something we haven't had in the Kenyan society before. A sense of solidarity, standing by one another, being bound by, common ideals, common values, common principles. And what I look at as revolutionary is the mindset that the existing social order is completely decayed. There's need for a new dispensation, politically, economically, socially, jurisprudentially, name it, as far as the law is concerned. That to me is revolutionary. That realization that the status quo is not working for me and it's not working for the person next to me is revolutionary. Well, the suddenness, Marabu, the suddenness of the uprising, no one saw it coming, no one predicts it, whether it's the security apparatus, the intelligence people, whoever it is, caught off guard by the spontaneity of the uprising. That is revolutionary. It's unfortunate that ours didn't go the full circle. But what happened in Bangladesh, that was a revolution. Out of the blues, people rise up and they eject the regime out of the palace. You have got only 5 minutes. You take your bag. In the case of the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, the chopper is waiting for you in the presidential yard. Just go. Sri Lanka, they are coming. You have to take off. There's noise at the gate. That's a revolution. So usually, if they have the luxury of long-term planning and coming up with official structures, it's fine. But in most cases, people just reach at a point and they say enough is enough. We've had enough of this, and it seems as if they've been communicating to one another while it's just something like psychopathy. We can't take this, and out of the blue, all of them instinctively rise up and they eject the feudal-like regime in place. Marabu, I think I don't think how do I put it? That we owe one another trust and confidence and this spirit of esprit de corps, because the formal positions that we hold. Trust. Societies that have got high levels of trust usually thrive. Like, I don't know you, I've met you in the streets, in a public space, but I owe you trust. You owe that person trust. It's not like you know them previously or you belong to the same community or same group. It's just human. There's nothing civil about acting dishonorably and disgracefully. And the more so, when people come together for a particular cause, each is expected to carry their weight. And therefore, we may not use those terminologies about maximum leader, commandante, and those kind of things, Keda, and those kind of things. But those things, actually what they mean is that there's a high level of solidarity and trust and the capacity to stand by one another regardless. And I think that's just what you expect in a normal functioning society, that we will be accountable to ourselves first and foremost, and we will also be accountable to other people around us. We explain to them why we are taking certain decisions and why we are doing the things we are doing. But if you don't do that, then nothing we can accomplish. Zero. We cannot accomplish anything. So that's how I look at it, that civilized societies where people feel obliged to be accountable for themselves and to those people around them, and that their conscience is so robust that it cannot allow them to take other people's trust for granted, or to take other people's feelings for granted, and to take other people's confidence for granted. And that is usually what enhances transparency. And that's why for people to doubt whether these political gladiators, you can call them that, they're actually serious or not, it's because our society is entrapped in mendacity, dishonesty. Dishonesty. Like lying is just a pastime. You lie with an open face, like Minister of Interior, when they say that protesters, while protesting, some of them fell down as a result of bullets. That doesn't mean it's the police who shot them. That is a classic example of how lying is a pastime, not just within the corridors of power in Kenya, but just across the board. Because when people are in positions of responsibility like that, lie openly like that, deny what is obvious, the most unfortunate thing is that mere mortals tend to think that kind of behavior is acceptable. You can behave like that and get away with it. You can lie and get away with it and nothing happens to you. You won't be stigmatized. There's no sense of shame. So that is why the imperative is not so much that we have formed some kind of a cohesive kind of entity with defined, mission and vision and stuff like that. It's only that we're human, we're fed up with the status quo, and we want it uprooted in totality. And anybody who believes in that kind of vision, in that kind of mission, then, if you may use the word, is a cadre. Is a cadre. Is a cadre of this movement. That's where I come from. And therefore, if people come to the movement and say, no, I've disembarked, well, it's fine, but it's disgraceful. That's not how you behave. Be part of a movement and then you commandeer it for your own selfish ends. That's not a normal functioning human being. And Pipita, as I learned, there's yesterday someone, I think it's called Anthony, said something and I said, okay, what is this? That is working on a bid to bring together Azimio, of what was left of Azimio and the Gen Zs, so that they form some kind of a coalition. And when I listened to that, I said, that was my fear. My fear was that when the question of leadership, political party formation, structures come in, individuals are likely to take advantage of that for purely cynical reasons. I mean, you can't say Gen Zs and what's remaining of Azimio, whether it's Kalonzo Musyoka and those other people, like really they can read from the same script. No, they cannot. What would happen, and you don't have to be a seer, is that political formation would take advantage of the Gen Zs for their own selfish ends. And they will steal thunder from the Gen Zs, from this movement. And before you realize, down the road, they close ranks with William Ruto. And these people, we're back to square one. So I'm very jittery, very nervous when I hear that talk about now we can form an alliance, or the movement can form an alliance, or Gen Zs can form an alliance with a given faction of the political elite. Those people are cynical and irredeemably so. Pipita, I yield.
Thank you for that. And kuna watu walikuwa nakasirika hapa hivi kwa comment section. I hope you get the chance to come to the mic. Me, I'm not going to say your words. Kujeni hapa juu muongee. Wanasema kwamba eti why anasema eti chali sobe ya mrembo anaitwa Tanui anasema let me just load it. PPU speaker anasema we shouldn't ask anyone for accountability, yet these are publicly sourced funds. Really, wacha nilale. Vamineta anasema this is just ridiculous. How now hata kama Kenyans tulirogwa, when it comes to politics we lose the plot. How are people believing that there is a rift between Prezo and his deputy? These people do not play enemies in their world. Now, as we continue to new speakers, before I go back to Western, you guys have been heavily invested to believe that politicians are not enemies. But you also have friends you have not spoken to 3 years, who you are very close. But now you go 3, 4, 5 years not speaking together because hamwelewani. Ukweli ama uongo? Joho, habari yako?
Poa sana Pipita, niaje?
Niko fresh sana, karibu kwenye show.
Thank you kwa hii chance. Okay, mi nazosema hivi, the political show yenye kwa sahi, kitu yenye we are not noticing, inaweza kuwa very well calibrated move. The elephant in the room is Adani. Sahi ukiangalia TL imeshift. every place. Hata sahii najua kuna media stations wanaongelea about hiyo nini ya Rigathi kutemwa nje ama nini, hiyo impeachment. Yeah, the shift is going from the things zenye tulikuwa tunaditate for to Rigathi. Na that's how they want to divide, like hiyo shift ikisha move the other side, they start their sinister moves. Utasikia shift iko inakuja on fast. What are we going to do? Like kila mtu nadhani amepitia hiyo kitu, ameangalia, it's not favoring us at all. Yani kitu ingine nadhani iko in the room. No one sahii anaongelea hiyo kitu. Unaona sahii memes watu wameweza kutengeneza memes, so sijui naona Chelimo anaingiliwa from every corner. That's what they want. I mean, like, this is not the first time tunaona a shift kama hii. Ilikuwa time ya Ruto na Uhuru. They played their card well. Mwenye alishinda. We are taken back to that same point. When tushaanza ku choose side, sahii tuna sympathize for that someone mwenye ako hapo is among the people wenye wanasumbua system. Yeah, hatuoni sisi tumefunga tu macho, like we are dancing to their tunes. Anything yenye sahii kila ukiuliza mtu akwambia Rigathi anatolewa kwa gava, but ukimuuliza about Adani, like we are so forgetful. Sijui we have mindset ya jealousy. Sorry kama naweza kuwa offensive kutumia hiyo nini, but that's how we are. Tumekuwa conditioned that way. Tunasahau vitu haraka sana. Hii script iliandikwa kitambo na watu wenye wako bright waliangalia. Sahii hata ukiangalia the Murima people wanaongelea mtu wetu anataka kutemwa nje, yet that mtu wao hawasaidia on anything. Wako tu like, yeah, the system is not working for us. Wao wanaangalia. Ukiuliza Gachagua mbona ana complain, atakwambia the main thing ni akuli ama wameiba sana. Yani wamepewa chance ya kuiba. Ruto na watu wake wameiba, kina Murkomen, kina Chirchir wameiba, hao wengine hawajapewa chance ya kuiba. That's the main reason Rigathi ako hapo hivyo analia. Alianza hiyo notion ya truthful man sababu aliona, mbona alianza hivyo, aliona tumeleta shida sana, Ruto ni mwongo, akaona okay, yenyewe mi hata hapa sikuli sana, najanipea chance. What notion will I start? Nimeanza truthful man, mi naongea ukweli. That's what we want to hear. Ukiona akiingia kwa media, kwa interviews, sijui nini, mi naongea ukweli. Yeah, those people hakuna kitu yenye wanatusaidia. They are looking for ways to loot for like their generations to come. Ukiangalia ndani, kuna mtu alipost something here, ilikuwa inasema colonizers will come in form of investors, and that's what is happening sahii. Adani deal ndio huyo, umesikia na ako kwa Ketrako, ameingia airport sahii, through Jaishi ndio huyo ako kwa health, ataingia kwa port. Like we are not going to be ourselves anymore. Like hakuna kitu yenye tunarun ourselves. Mimi naweza sema Ruto amekuwa very brilliant guy, amekuwa working to destroy the systems zenye zimekuwa in place, systems zenye zina work. Yeah, amekuwa akizivunja kabisa. Education ilikuwa ina work, sasa it's not working anymore. Machiva alienda shule, alijoin August, ilikuwa August this month huko ikianzanga. Yeah, ameingia shule, mzaya analia mazee. Mimi nikisoma hiyo pia ikuwa huge hivyo, si eti like hata banda ameweka unashangaa. Okay, like yeah, si yeye peke yake, kuna watoto wengine tukipeleka si shule watu wanalia huko hivyo. Things are not working out. So vile vitu zilikuwa zina work zote, okay, unaona NHS is not working. Why won't you mend the place yenye high work other than bringing in a new thing kabisa? Alafu hiyo to hold watu accountable. That's what we lack. Unapata nikitumia kisita hapo hivi 300, nitataka kujua alinunua bundle ya ngapi, alinvite nani kwa space, sababu hiyo ni pesa yangu, nani waliongea nini. But the people we really need to hold accountable, hold accountable, our leaders. Umeona watu wengine wako nini hiyo vile wanataka kutoa CDF, watu wameenda wakilia. Ulisikia vile Mohamed Ali alikuwa analia eti akitaki maendeleo. But that money is not really for maendeleo, ni pesa ya kuludi. Mtu huwezi toa CDF safari ya 4,000 shillings, yet kuna millions zinapeana kwa hiyo constituency zinafaa kufanya kazi. They funika with bursaries za 7,000 shillings, ikienda sana ni 8 ama 12. Ukipewa tu watu wanakuja wanasema wenyewe inawaka, but it's not working. Ukiangalia pesa iko hapo hivyo, uingie kwa audit books za serikali, unaanza kupiga nduru. We just dream. We should hold people accountable for it. And the main thing, we'll see how we will make our system work. If people are implicated in corruption, just step down, investigations zifanyike, uende jela ama ukuwe hanged. That's the only way to go. But kusema like watu tunaweza kuwa maybe a revolution we have a common enemy when tunataka atoke, then we can't hold you accountable. Hapo kidogo I beg to differ. That's my submission.
Right. Thank you so much for that submission, Joho. Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run with PP. Skiza jingle.
This is Home Run with PP.
That submission by Joho gets us to 27 minutes past 6 p.m. East African time. I hope you're doing amazing. Rurigi, how are you doing? Rurigi.
Yes, good morning. Is it morning over there? This is morning for me.
Good morning. To me, it's evening, though. I hope you're doing amazing, though.
You just said it is evening 6 p.m., you say?
Yes, 28 minutes past 6 p.m. East African.
This is 28 minutes past 11 a.m. Eastern Time, USA and Canada. So we're doing good.
All right. Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm barely woken up. I've just had my breakfast. It's my day off. So I am cooking with gas. Now, I want to say hi to you, Peter, to Western, Joho, all the speakers, Baba Jackie, who has not spoken here in my view, but I'm inviting him to take the mic after me. Baba Jackie, we have a history of 5 years and more. Now, this topic is very nice, and I've been waiting for this. And I want to say 3 things. Number 1, let's start with a chorus or a refrain that says, Ruto lies, and Ruto lies all the time, for that is his nature. We should begin all our spaces with that refrain so that we can remind people who we are dealing with. This is a sociopath, a thief. I don't even have words to describe the extent to which this guy is ready to go. Right now, this Murima thing is just a disguise to make sure that we are not paying attention to Adani. We are not paying attention to what is happening in Kwale, Taita Taveta, the mining thing. Why do you think Joho was a choice to give the Ministry of Mining and, blue economy? Now he has 2 chances. 1, to bring in his drugs in a guise of, I'm sending a vessel to check on the ocean to see how fishes are doing, but he's going to get his cocaine into the country. And I'm not afraid to say this. This is known. Nobody doesn't know that he is a chief, the main drug dealer in the coast. Where do you think he gets this billion he was citing? He is worth more than the 2 partly billions, 2.5 he said is worth. He said the rest is family wealth. Show us an industry that Joho runs in Mombasa. Show us even an industry in Dubai. There's nothing. So while of all people, you choose the worst of ODM, especially in Joho. I may have nothing against Badi. I may have nothing against the other guy, the other 2 ministers from that side. But Joho and Oparanya should not have been in that cabinet if Ruto meant good for the country. But you know what? He has never meant good. So let me take you guys back a little bit to 2012. I don't want to go even to the Moi era. But do you know where Ruto has taken us? Back to 1991. That's the only time when the IMF came to Kenya with its own structural adjustment program. And university, I was in my final year in university, and we started paying school fees. Life became hell for university students from there on. We were the first cohort not to be employed, or rather to get our letters of appointment at the campus before we graduated. And after that, some of us took 5 years to get jobs. And from then, Kenya has been in that trajectory. Mm-hmm. Kibaki comes and fixes the problem a little bit, to the best of his knowledge, to the best of his ability. He gives the best, appoints the most qualified ministers, and let them do their job. No micromanagement. Okay? So we achieve in the first term, we repay the debt, and the deficit is taken to 0. And in the third year, we are getting growth of 5% and more. Then the referendum comes, and they split with Raila in 2005. He fires the ministers, reappoints those ones who are mean business, and the country continues to grow. Then 2007 happens. Everybody knows about 2007 what happened. It is that Raila won this time. But the margin was very small, almost as small as the thieving that Ruto did. Ruto did not win. He stole the election, but with a very small margin. On the other hand, Kibaki stole the election with very small margin. So when he put back, what did the statesman do? He accepted to do a coalition government. And the coalition government led so well, we got 7%, 7.9. We were heading to 10% growth by the end of Kibaki term. A country can only grow its economy if it is growing at 10 and above. You can revolutionize your country in under 20 years. That's what India has done. That's what Singapore did. That's what South Korea did. All these countries that have become the tiger nations, South Africa, they have grown at 10% prior to achieving their tiger status. Now, 2012, where I took you back, we make the mistake. I say we, Kenyans, and especially the Murima people. They are convinced that Ruto is a good choice to deputize Uhuru, knowing very well Uhuru and his family are actually the source of the problem of Kenya, economically, land, everything. So personally, I had just come back from the United States. I was in Kenya in 2012, and I followed those elections. I told my family, guys, if you make this mistake, elect this duo you are calling Uhuruto, you have sent us back 20 years because these guys will stick to power. Yangu kumi, Ruto kumi. That will happen, whether you like it or not. Once these people are in office, they will stop at nothing. They will kill. They will loot. They will do everything. Is that not what has happened? Today, when I go home, people call me a prophet. How did you see these things? But these things are open for anybody with even a grade 3 education. So let's not start saying, I wonder, that's my first point. Why are we so surprised that this is how Ruto is performing? This is scripted. This is a scripted thing from 2012 to ruin the Kenya economy and loot it. So what they disagreed on was who is looting more. Come 2022, way forward. We are back to almost 20 years. I thought probably we'll go back 10 years, but we went 20 years. And then Ruto, so we went back to 2002. Then Ruto comes in 2 years, he takes us back to 91. So if we let this thing continue, do you know where we will be by the end? If Ruto gets a second term, he is taking us back to 1963. While he told us that he's gonna not do forced disappearances, he's not. Nobody's gonna kill. He has killed the number that Uhuru killed in 10 years. He has killed in 2. He has ruined the economy that he ruined in 10 years. He has ruined in 2. So we are eventually going to 1963, and the dynasty he was talking about, he came to remove. He wants to be the dynasty himself. So any Kenya of good thinking, if we don't get this guy out in 27, I know right now it's difficult because he's already too entrenched. You saw he was in Haiti. And we are just praying that Trump is elected in the US because Trump is a no-nonsense person. I never liked Trump, but for interest of Africa, I pray every day for Trump to get that seat. He'll ruin America, but he'll fix Africa. So that's my prayer and prayer for everybody. Finally, this Mulima story, nobody believes it. Even a child of grade 1 knows this is choreographed so that you can divert your mind from Adani, from elsewhere. All ye thinking Kenyans, please do not listen to that Mulima nonsense. Do not for even a minute. When I see it on TV, I switch it off. I don't want to hear Moi, Ruto. I don't want to hear this Mulima guy speaking. All I want is for the Gen Z, the Gen Zote, who came together to make sure in 2027, we send these guys home as a package, including Raila, including everybody, including this so-called leader of ours who has emerged. He is now a state operative. Yesterday, I was with Miguna personally, and if you follow his tweet, he shows you why Morara is not the next leader. Morara is now compromised. Even the guy who he got accident with is a state operative of the Rike. They call it Rike Squad. This guy was sent apparently to protect Morara, but he had to send a message to Morara. Morara is now so afraid. Going forward, you will not see whatever he was doing, and eventually he's going to be compromised, be offered some seat, maybe in parliament, and we have lost that one. He is a goner. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to contribute. I'll keep listening. If anybody has a question, I'll stay on for a little while. I'm leaving in about 30 minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ruriki, also for your submission. And I want to know why you guys really think Morara is compromised, because I feel sometimes when people speak these things of compromise and all this, I feel like, hey, ama mimi ndo nakuanga blind. Yeah, so maybe you can help us understand what makes people believe that Morara is compromised. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, just to highlight, pale vijuku na tip jaline, yes, we are at 0-0. Ingia pale vindani to support if you can. I see Western.
Tumeiona na nikitoka kwa hii space immediately utapata pesa ya mboga.
Asante sana, Rurigi.
Na ya network. Where is our friend Kurt Sonko?
Kurt Sonko today is not within the space today, but yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good guy, and I find it difficult to distinguish between your voices.
Allah, that's a first.
Yeah. So sometimes I don't know whether it is Sonko or you talking, but at least now the way you have put your whatever, I can see it is Pepita. So
yes,
very good job you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
So if you want me to respond to that question you're saying about Morara, up to yesterday, I was convinced that, like you. But I spent 2 hours with Miguna, and he laid it out on me and I agree with him that this guy is compromised. You know, where the compromise comes in is this. When Murara was working by himself and doing impromptu visits without nobody knowing where he's going to go tomorrow, no itinerary, he just appears, does his job, takes the video, no bodyguards, nobody, just takes the video. That is when he was making the point. Because even the state could not be able to follow him. They don't know where he's going. They don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. They don't know whether he'll be in Muranga or he'll be in Kiratina or he will be somewhere in Mandera. That way he was succeeding. The minute he started now formulating that I am going to be going here, and he announced it beforehand, and people now start coming to congregate, it looks like a good thing because now he's attracting crowds. But on the end of the day, the state is now able to monitor him so well. And don't think Ruto takes things sitting down. Ruto is not a joker. He did not get this thing. Can you imagine somebody defeating this the system from inside? It has never happened in Kenya. This is a new thing. So you think Ruto will agree to just lose it like that because of a young man who so irresponsibly yesterday, I listened to him saying that I will not hesitate to jail Ruto. You think it's an easy matter like that? This guy who was in Hague and killed witnesses, Ruto is like an injured lion at this time, which has already tasted human blood, like the man-eaters of Sabo. It will eat man gladly. Murara will be consumed like, if he continues to insist and refuse a compromise, his life will end up like his grandfather. I can tell you, as a Kikuyu elder, we have seen this, and we are warning him, if he does not change his ways, come back to his original ways in disguise, don't accept to be compromised, don't accept any state security, because those are the people who will kill him. The accident was to send him a message. We can kill you at a whim if we want. But this time was just to warn you. Okay? So it's not compromise in the nature that he is seeking it, but the state is seeking to either kill him or compromise him, whichever is easier for them. As we go closer to 2027, these threats will become even higher. If he is seen to be actually be able to mobilize the community the way he is doing, he will be eliminated. Take that to the bank. Okay? So right now, anybody who is of good thinking and good interest for Murara should advise him to go back to his original ways. These guys, no security, just appear on yourself, organize with the people on the ground, they come and meet you, you do your video, don't even post it live, post it after. Don't do it live, so they don't know how to track you. If you go live, they will know where you are. Now they already put security following you in the guise that they are protecting you. Because personally, I've written to Ruto. Ruto was my classmate in University of Nairobi, somebody I know. I've told him, if you kill Murara, personally, I'm going back to law school so that I can come and prosecute you in The Hague after power. Whether it's 2032, whether it's 2027, you are going back to Hague. Me and Miguna will make sure you are jailed for life. That's how serious we are with this matter. Thank you very much. So whoever does not believe that Ruto is a threat is like you're joking. I've just given you an example. The hungry, injured lions of the Savo, during the railway building. Once a lion is injured and it has tasted human blood, it will stop at nothing. It can even have 1 million gazelles, but it will still go for the human. So Ruto is like that. Dangerous. Dangerous. You play with him at your peril. We can afford to talk like this because we are in Canada. And I'm telling you, the minute it is known that I'm associating with Muguna, I may not even be able to come to Kenya. So let me stop at that point. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Rurigi, for that submission. I see Western. I may know Mkonoju. Western.
Pepita.
Yeah.
I was is what they call guided democracy. That's why, if you listen to what Rigathi said, those are unpopular sentiments. But facts are very brutal because they don't disappear because you've ignored them or you are not seeing them. Ours is guided democracy. That's what it is. I keep on saying here that we fantasize democracy a lot in Kenya. But when you look at it critically, it's hollow. I do agree with the Rurigi that Ruto has got options when it comes to, if you say Morara will be the candidate of Gen Z, that gives him one hell lot of time to plan, to scheme, and what have you. Because they say one day in politics is a lot of time. Now here we're talking about years. Can you imagine if you've identified your adversary, and in advance you're telling the adversary that you'll attack them on a particular date, and you think you'll get your adversary seated pretty on their laurels waiting for you to come and take them out like a sitting duck? You kidding me? You kidding me? And he's been in this politics much longer. And one thing I give it to him. I said facts are stubborn. Is that you have to give it to him when it comes to political instinct. It's high, political instinct. Governance is something else. But politics, how to read politics and what to do, the chessboard kind of thing, you have to give it to him. Because of all people Moi tutored, this is the guy you would say who graduated. The rest did not graduate. And he's a student, you would say, he even outsmarted the teacher. He did outsmart the teacher. When Moi was thinking about, I want to hand over the Kalenjin to my son, Ruto had run away with that constituency. It's gone. It's completely gone. He was left, he didn't know what happened. Such that by the time that old man was passing on, they were not seeing eye to eye with Ruto. So he's not a politician you can underestimate. You can't. Your work is cut out for you. And when you say that, it's not that you're being melancholic. It's not that you are selling hopelessness. You are saying that work is cut out for us. And we have to crank up our thinking, our strategy, and we have to be brutal with one another as opposed to, telling one another the things we want to hear. For me, Marara is about what I've listened to him say and stuff like that, nothing else. When you say your ambition is to become a billionaire, immediately billionaires in Kenya can identify your weakness. It's like you're saying you are into a fight, but you say, I also love fine wine. Okay, people who know where fine wine is brewed will go and look for it. You've already told them your weakness. So he said his ambition is to become a billionaire, but he can get into politics and this. Now, moneyed people in Kenya already identify you. That's your weakness. That's your weakness. And they say, we can work with this person actually. But if you say, I want to get into power to smash this feudal-like socio-political system, I want to smash this feudalism in Kenya. I want to fight against inequalities. I want to bring majority of Kenyans into the mainstream economy. People who have got money will sit up and think how they're going to compromise you. Because you're wedded to something bigger than yourself. But once you're wedded to something like wealth and money, you have not conquered yourself, and therefore you can't conquer anybody. Self-conquest is the greatest form of conquest. If you can't conquer yourself in terms of the things you fantasize, the things that make you salivate, well, you are fair game to those who have been in this game much longer. Do people know that in the last election, there were Gachagua candidature was suspect? Do people know that? When people say no, some candidates really, do people know that candidature was suspect. Do people know that? Because I would listen to people say, no, Gachagua can get, 200,000 votes, 500. I say, you're kidding me. Do you know how many 200,000 votes are in a presidential election? Or 500,000? Do you know how big that number is? No, he's going to get, no. Then you realize, no. This candidate here is out to serve some nefarious purpose. What his role was to see whether he could halve youth votes so that, could create a too close to call kind of presidential race. Because why would a candidate be talking about bang and marijuana and stuff like that in a country that supposedly is conservative? You tell me where the logic is. And the church people were never even speaking about it. And if they were doing it, it was in some tame voices. And there was no this backlash against who is this, who is saying what. So he was reduced to some kind of a lampoon, some buffoon, saying very weird things, I don't know, hyena or balls and stuff like that. Comic relief. But there was a role he was meant to play, which didn't come to pass. So when I talk about guided democracy, that's what I mean. They're usually undercurrent things that you don't see. Secondly, people are asking, now you can campaign even at night in the middle of the CBD of Nairobi, and the security operators don't pounce on you. They seem not to be concerned. One, the inference is this. They don't think you're a threat to them. They don't. That's the thing. If in Kenya you're campaigning for high office, or you've declared your intention to run for high office, and the state is least bothered about what you're doing, the conclusion is that they don't think you're a threat. Or secondly, they think you're pandering and you're advancing their agenda. When Rigathi said what could happen in elections down the road, it's not like it's something you can predict like as a prophet. You just draw from a history that we have got an inconclusive election down the road. And then if the Gen Zs had a candidate, well, the candidate will just be offered a ministerial position in government. And they say, how many people are around you? Come, join this. Because that's what has happened in the past. And they think it can happen in the future. So supporters, if you want to make noise, they ask, but your leader is accepted the deal. Who are you to oppose that deal? With one fell swoop, you have completely dismantled what people thought would be an existential threat to your hold on power. And therefore, when you come together and coalesce under an umbrella of a political party, then what is expected of people who do that is that then you have to study your opponent quite closely and quite robustly. You have to study your opponent. If you don't, he takes you to the cleaners. And I can tell you this for free. Towards 2022 elections, Pepita, I think that day when Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta shook hands outside Harambee House, if you remember that day and that year, a colleague of mine who is not even a Kenyan told me, my brother, you have to prepare for a Raila Odinga presidency. And then I asked him, why do you say that? He told me, yeah, he's going to be endorsed by Uhuru Kenyatta, the sitting president. And the two of them, I don't think there's anybody in Kenya who can defeat them. And my response was terse and immediate. I told him, it's not going to happen. It will not happen. He didn't believe me. He was not the only one who didn't believe me. Even some of my close friends, and they didn't believe me. They said, no, you must be high on something. This can't happen. I said, he is not going to defeat this guy. Well, I said, okay, after elections, you can call me, and then we talk about it. After elections, yes, some of them, they called me, but what were you saying? How did you know this would not happen? I told them, You ask me how I knew. I could tell because this guy is really ruthless in the way he's organizing himself. These other guys are taking things for granted. You can tell, completely disorganized. I don't think they have what it takes to beat him. They say, no, the might of the state. I say, no, that might of the state is delusion. You're not going to beat him. And that doesn't mean I endorse him or I don't. That's what I'm seeing. It came to pass. 2016, that was the first time also. When everybody else was saying, Hillary is going to defeat Donald Trump. And I told people, no, Hillary is not going to beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump will beat Hillary Clinton. If Donald Trump defeated those presidential aspirants within the Republican Party, then there's nothing is going to stop him. He's going all the way to the Oval Office. Say, no, it can't be. No, don't. Say, okay. The US elections usually play themselves out in the media for all and sundry to see and follow. After the elections, call me and tell me what the results would have been like. Well, some of them did come back to me, some of them did not. So I'm telling you, I usually cut out the noise and what is it that people are saying. I just have to look at what's happening here. What is this candidate doing? What is that candidate doing? And what are the chances of this candidate? That is it. That's what I do. And that is outside of my preferences. It doesn't mean, even if I prefer you to win the presidency, and I'm convinced that you can't, I will say, no, you're not going to win this thing. If I believe you're not going to win this thing, or you don't stand a chance, but I see along the way your chances have improved, I'll say, no, this person at the beginning didn't stand a chance. But now he has got a realistic chance of winning this thing. But what do we do in Kenya, Pepita? What do we do if I've got a candidate, even if I see the weaknesses of that candidate, even if I see their campaign is not up to scratch, I still cling to that candidate? What does that mean? It means now I'm prioritizing my feelings and likes as opposed to dispassionately reading the political happenings before me. So I can see Raila Odinga's campaign is in a shambles. But because he's my candidate, I insist that he's going to win elections. That's not how it happens. And when he doesn't, I think, oh, something happened. No, I can see this is not my candidate, but his machinery is well oiled. He's the candidate to beat. I will say, no, I lock it out. It's called cognitive dissonance, whereby you're not receptive to anything that goes counter to that which you passionately believe in. And that's what we do in Kenya. So it's not like you don't like Morara. If you say these things, it's not like you don't like him. It's not like Miguna doesn't like him. But what Miguna does, he dispassionately reads the things that are happening outside of his likes and dislikes. And when he comes up with those conclusions and observations, you could easily dismiss him as somebody who doesn't like a person, or somebody who is a rabble-rouser, or somebody who's throwing a spanner in the works. That's not what it is. So this is my reading of Morara. He comes across as naive, and our politics does not like that kind of character, to be naive. You have to be ahead of the game. If you don't, well, at the end of the day, they make means of you, and life continues. But the problem is that those who believe in you suffer a lot in terms of heartache. Heartache. They suffer. Broken hearts and stuff like that. So that's where the only problem, I only worry, when we don't place these people under the microscope and observe and read them dispassionately, brutally, and honestly. We invest emotions in them. Well, in actual sense, down the road, there are pitfalls, and they're going to fall into those pitfalls. So my inference is twice. Either they believe Morara is not a threat to the hold on power, or they think they can cut deals with him down the road. It's as simple as that. I yield, Pepita.
Hey, Western Shilaho gets us to the top of the hour again. Hey, MZ. They believe so. Zapata kwamba Omra ni the people. The reason why sijakujua ni kwa sababu sijafika level. Mama you.
Social conversations, engaging topics on your phone anywhere. This is Home Run with PP.
Lakini that's why mimi nawaambianga kila siku hapa na narudia kila siku kwamba sitaki pesa ya wanasiasa. Hata corporate wenyewe saa zingine when you get their money they want to micromanage you. You get. If I was a radio presenter in a media house right now, I would probably be working under certain stringent looks. Watu wakinimark. Unanielewa? Lakini because now I am able to just do my thing hapa hivi nje. It's easier for me to say some words. It's easier for me to let people speak to the space without fearing that kuna mtu atatufanyia kitu mbaya. This is Home Run with People, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, for me, I have dedicated my life to educating and, of course, creating a platform where people can just speak up their minds without fear of, being persecuted or being judged for whatever. Of course, hapa hivi kwenye Home Run with People, our show is supported by you, the listener. If you like what we are doing, there is a tip jar line. 0721948229 is the number where you drop in your support. Of course, that helps us keep that independence of thought, and of course inatusaidia pia kulipa rent. We moved our studio to a room. So yeah, we have to pay rent for it every month, and of course mambo ya internet nini. Yeah, so whatever you put in that tip jar really helps in moving this studio to the next level. And of course, as you see, I have some short-term goals. Yeah, hizo nataka nikishaweka viti na hizo some back decor hapa hivi kwenye ukuta hapa. All of this now will now start making sense. So that is what I'm doing. So mkishangaa mbona nawaambia weka tip is because it really helps in helping maintain the independence of voice. Najua ningekuwa mtu kama wa UDA sasa ningekuwa nimeanza kublock watu. Ama ningekuwa mtu maybe wasaidia Raila. You see the way the bloggers lose instant what we call it, they lose credibility instantly, are guided by their political god. So that is what we are doing here kwa Home Run People. So thank you so much kwa wale ambao kwa hivi ndani wakitusikiza, wale wana share the space, wale wanaongea kwenye space, and of course everybody who finds time to be here. Rurigi, I see you want to talk. I want also to go to Richard right after you, and Tanima team is also on the line. We are about 7 p.m. East African time. 2 more hours to the end of the show, so we have time. Rurigi.
Yes, just one statement. I agree totally, and I think there's no contradiction or conflict between what Western just presented. He only has very good political language. Me, I'm presenting it very raw. But the point I wanted to just emphasize what he said is this idea that the Ruto and the guided democracy, the way they work is that they evaluate your threat profile. If you're not a threat to their interest, they don't even give you attention. They don't follow you. The minute they start following you, you know you have reached their threat profile, which is a watch status. Now, when you're in watch status, everything you do is monitored. But now, when you reach a level where you could threaten their holding power, for example, in 2027, now that is where the threat level is elevated to emergency and all systems go on you. So that is the point we are asking Morara not to allow himself to reach. Number 2 little point. Morara has already identified his weakness and his what he is salivating for. This is things these people acquired long ago, way like 30 years ago. He is where Ruto was 30 years ago, with the belly, the fire in the belly, but not for good governance. It's now coming out clearly that he is more interested, like Western said, on making money. And he thinks probably, like Ruto thought, and he has been proven correct, that politics is the way to wealth. Ruto has never owned any industry. Ruto has never owned any, even this chicken he says he was selling is a total lie. He was selling chicken while he was in high school to educate himself because they were poor, that poor. Otherwise, the minute he got into governance, he has never done a business a day in his life. He has just lived politics. Now, Murara is even ahead of Ruto in that respect because he's running a business. He's making some money. Even the first car Murara bought for himself, first car for Ruto was bought by us. I know who bought the car for Ruto. So that's why I could raise to another profile if he knows now I'm working with people, so I can disclose some of this information. I know who bought the first car for Ruto. So the reality is Murara has to be very careful, go back to his original script, go back to financing himself, don't accept gifts from politicians. In fact, he should not even accept gifts from anybody. He has enough resources to finance himself. The only thing is, in this discreetly, he can organize himself among his groups, don't even use bank, just transact under the table, get the money, put it in your account as if it is your business account. So these people cannot trace. They'll think you keep making money from your business and the business is growing. And meanwhile, continue to grow your business because you don't know the way the politics will go. But the route is going through is going to lead to disaster. And that's what we are trying to avoid. Thank you very much, Peter. Just that chime in and then you can go to Richard, yeah.
All right. Let me hear first of all. I don't want to make it a podcast, so I want to hear Richard. And of course, Western, when you come back, I want you to just give me one word, one answer, a word, Western. Ellis Hill is our long-time listener hapa kwa Homeland. Anasema kwamba Western, I am curious, who do you think will win the presidential race in the United States of America in 2024? Western, who are you putting your donkey on?
Pepita, if I was a bookmaker, I would put my money on Donald J. Trump.
Where? Okay. I'll be here. Unajua uzuri home run November 7th is actually a weekday. It's Monday. Ngoja, no, that is October. November is on Thursday. Yes, that is when they are going to election. So I think your week, Monday 11th, we will be here. Ellis Hill is in the United States, of course. He is definitely going to be affected directly by whatever outcome that election is. So yeah, our American listeners, our Kenyan American listeners, unajua kuna kitu mnesahau kujua kwamba we have dual citizenship in our country. Yeah, so mtu kama nani? Mtu kama Miguna is a dual citizen, and very many other people, even some of them are listening in this show, who are American citizen and Kenyan citizens. Nyindo mebarikiwa. Thank you so much, Hannah, for the tip pale even ndani kwenye tipja. Naona Richard. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing fine, PP. I just want to confirm if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear, bro.
Thank you. So, PP, I've heard what Rurigi and Western, and I respect Western because he always has deep